Okay, can you guys hear me? Okay, I think probably we'll start for today. So welcome everyone to Expert Session 2. So this Expert Session is powered by XMUM Tech Club, and also we'll be providing a lot of events, especially the expert session. We'll have it throughout the whole month. This is our second session. We have our third session next week and also the fourth session on the end of this month, all in Friday, 8 p.m. Okay, so first let me introduce you guys what is the expert. Go next slide. So we are an event that we invite speakers from all different technology industry to share their experience and knowledge to our university students. Last week we invited people from UI UX. This week we have Mr. Gopinath to introduce about IoT. Next week we have talk about AWS, Amazon Web Service, and end of this month we have a self-driving car company in Malaysia. They will be introducing them. Okay, so next. Yeah, so probably Mr. Gopinath, are you ready? Yeah. Yes, probably you are muted.
Yeah, sure.
Today we are really happy to have Mr. Gopinath here. So, Mr. Gopinath, could you probably introduce yourself a little bit, tell us what you do and what's your company and all kind of things?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. How do I call you? Is it
Call me Kim. Call me Kim.
Yeah. All right. Kim. Thank you, Kim. I hope all can hear very well. Clear?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, my lighting is not so good, so it's a bit dark here, but it's okay. So thank you for inviting me to share my knowledge in Internet of Things. So let me just share with you a short background of profile about myself. Actually, I did all my 3 degrees. I mean, my bachelor's, master's, and PhD in USM. So anyone from Penang here?
Penang there.
You can
comment. Yeah, you can chat there.
Nice place. It's a very nice place. I've involved in various fields. In the research, I was from USM. I did my research there as well. And then I went into lecturing and then into a research again back in MIMOS. And then when in MIMOS, we are actually one of the first to start this, if you know IPv6, Internet Protocol version 6. Yeah. So actually I'm one of the earliest to start the IPv6 connectivity in Malaysia, that is from Penang to NTT Cyberjaya. So this was back 20 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So in MIMOS, I've also started the Internet of Things work. I think the foundation, if you look at the Internet of Things in Malaysia, it started off back in 2010 under my research group back then. And currently, I'm actually one of the co-founder of FAVORIOT Sdn Bhd, FAVOR IoT or FAVORIOT Sdn Bhd. So if you look at the name FAVOR IoT, so it's the IoT solutions that we are providing. So I will explain more detail in my slides later towards the end of my presentation. Yeah. So I focus in various, as I mentioned here, my background, if you ask me, from research to generating intellectual properties. So I have few intellectual properties under my name in various fields, wireless communication specifically, and then IPv6 and so on. So currently, I'm also the architect of the IoT solutions. So when I say IoT solutions, I'll explain later what is IoT, and then you'll have an understanding of what it is and then how it can be applied. So I'll pass it back to you, or should I continue that?
Yeah, probably I will start it now.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Gopin. So we leave the stage for you, Mr. Gopinath. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
So I mean, I've seen Zenman University along the way, to Sepang a few times. Nice. The administration structure is such a nice building. I always wanted to go there. The closest I've been is the Sansuria, I think, administration office. So we had a discussion there actually.
Yeah.
Okay, can I share my slide?
You can share your screen. Probably next time we also invite you to our campus.
Yeah, sure. Once all this pandemic is over.
Yeah. Yeah, you can share your screen.
Yeah, I'm doing that. Hold on.
No problem. Okay, leave the stage to you.
Okay, thank you, Kim. So before I move on, may I know what is the audience? Which year are they in? Are they from year 1 to year 4, from IT background, or they have other backgrounds as well?
They are because we are tech club. We usually like anyone who are interested in tech. No matter, most of the members are usually like you have tech background, but just a few of them which are not from the tech background. But mostly will be from tech background from year 1 to year 4.
Okay. But I assume only from the IT field.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Now the topic that I've chosen here is Internet of Things, technology that is changing the world. Of course, if you look at the current trend, right, there are a few important trends that each of you should know in terms of the tech. IoT is one of it. The others, of course, AI, artificial intelligence, deep learning, autonomous things, and so on. So these are a few of the things. So when I say changing the world, how does it change the world, right? Is what I'm going to explain to you all. Okay. So the floor is, I mean, of course, there are a few topics here. I may skip some of the topics. It depends on the time that we have. And then I will allow question and answer towards the end. Okay, so let me just go straight to the overview. What is IoT? By the way, is anyone here knows what is IoT? At least fundamental things, at least know. I've read about IoT, I've built IoT application. Anyone? I can see in the chat. Anyone? In textbook? Good. Is it part of the syllabus? No, right? It's just an introductory, I assume.
Yeah, introductory course or like introductory course or like touch a little bit. What is IoT?
Right.
Something like that. Yeah. A little bit.
Okay, cool. Okay. So what is Internet of Things? So I have few diagrams that explains this. So the first one is this. This was taken from one of the think tank Things That Think, okay, one of the article. So if you see here, there are a number of terminologies that has been explained. So from here, if you can see the pointer, Cisco has said it, the Internet of Everything. Machine type communications, M2M. And then GE says that it's industrial internet. And if you look at the industrial perspective, there is a IIoT consortium. They are mentioning it or stating it as industrial Internet of Things. Then they have Intranet of Things, which is defined by Claro partners. And then we have embedded internet, web of things, vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to infrastructure, vehicle to anything. It's also part of the IoT. And then we have smart. So when you say smart, smart buildings, smart infrastructure, smart that, smart this. Now, all of those things that is being stated here is actually part of a family of IoT. Now, take for example, vehicle to infrastructure, right? So you're talking about autonomous vehicle. So what is autonomous vehicle? Autonomous vehicle is a vehicle that actually moves. It has intelligence that can detect, can move on its own, can detect, who are the people besides, what's the object that can be visible, and so on and so forth. So like that, IoT plays an important role in every aspect. Okay, so next time when you see all this terminology, it actually is a family of IoT. But again, it depends. If you look at the IoT ecosystem, which I'll explain later, what are the important components of the IoT ecosystem that is required? Now, I love this chart because this is actually a simplified chart that explains everything in one go. Okay, so here it says that Internet of Things. What is the meaning of Internet of Things? It connects machines, devices to one another, can help all industries become more efficient, productive, and also safer. Now, the main thing is that you want to capture the environment or the parameters that you want to measure. And with the data that you have captured, you want to analyze and you want to make use of the data to either make it more efficient or to create a new solutions and so on. Now, it was estimated back then in 2003 to 2010, there are about 20 billion devices, which are the things that are connected. Even though this is a bit old, this is 2020 data, about 40 to 50 billion. And in fact, some, for example, Cisco has stated about more than 50 billion. Some has stated about 100 billion devices connected. So when we talk about IoT, it's a connected devices. Then we talk about the rise of the sensors. Sensors enables IoT. Okay, so the main component in IoT is the device itself, right? So what are the components or what are the types of sensors, in the beginning, right? So you can take, for example, ambient light monitoring, accelerometer, magnetometer, okay, motion compressor, coprocessor, sorry, ambient sound, okay, gyroscopic, magnetometer, barometer, temperature, proximity, and so on and so forth, right? Now, if you look at all those things, right, these are actually already in your smartphone. Your smartphone is actually an IoT device, okay? Next question would be, why now, right? Why IoT are so much used now compared about, few years ago, right? If you can see here, sensors are cheaper nowadays, are becoming cheaper and cheaper. Back in 2007, the cost of accelerometer, one axis accelerometer is about $7. But in 2020, it was 50 cents, and with 6 axes, and it's getting cheaper. And because it's getting cheaper and processors are getting better, you can actually make use of those things to provide a better solution. And it actually creates a huge economic edge back in 2020. It's about 14.4 trillion, and it's ever increasing. So the opportunities are huge. Why? Because this is not a vertical type of solution. It cut across various sectors. When I say various sectors, it can go to smart city, it can go to manufacturing side, it can go for health sector, agriculture, and so on. So it cut across various sectors. Okay. Of course, there are risks, which I will explain later. Now, the need to connect, the next question would be, so you have this great technology. Like, for example, you have AI. AI is such a great thing. But why do we need these things? How can we apply these things to use it in our daily life? These are just few examples, right? You have these, grocery items, your vegetables, your fruits. So I need to maintain the quality of my goods. So if you go to hypermarkets, right? You see the vegetables are there. Sometimes, if you look at the, all the milk compartments, the chillers are not closed, the doors are not closed. So what happens? The energy, the air conditioning, right? The cooler will go out. So with that will actually affect the quality of the product itself. Next is who is the intruder using the CCTV camera? Of course, we have it right now. How can I reduce my electricity bill? Am I healthy? Okay, we feel we are healthy, but how do you measure that you are healthy or not? Of course, a good solution will be a wearable device where you can keep track of your heart rate, you can keep track of your livelihood, how many steps you are taking, and so on. Next is, where is my next bus? So this is the biggest question. So when you go, of course, nowadays, not many people are taking public buses, at least, even for the commuter and so on. So they will know what time the next bus will arrive. Right? So what is the purpose of this? So you don't have to go early to the bus stop or bus station, and waste your time spending there waiting for bus. If you know the exact time the bus will arrive, you can just plan out your schedule so that you'll be there maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes earlier. Okay, next is where can I park, or where I park my car. Okay, so these are some of the things, reasons why you need to connect to IoT. Now let's look at the IoT ecosystem. These are the common, there are complex IoT ecosystem, which I'm not going to touch. This is a simplified version. IoT ecosystem usually consists of 5 components. The first one is the device. The device here could be a sensor device that measures the environment, the temperature, humidity, like what all the sensing capability that I mentioned earlier. And then there is a connectivity. Connectivity could be a short range, long range, point to point, and so on. Next, we have a cloud platform. the data that is being captured by the device has to be sent to somewhere, right? So that is the cloud platform, which aggregates all the data. And then we have application on top of that. Now, in this application, it could be a mobile, it could be an analytic engine, and so on. And we have end-to-end security at the top. So end-to-end security means is that security is required at each level of these components. So this is how, if you talk about IoT, these are the 4 or 5 main things that you should know. Okay, device, connectivity, cloud or platform, application, and the security. Now let's look into the sensor part of it. I've explained briefly earlier, but let's look into more detailed part of it, right? Sensors are actually the nervous system, right? The nervous system. Without sensors, you cannot do anything in IoT. Now, sensing here, it will also be cameras as well. Okay, so take for example, these are different types of sensors, right? Presence, proximity sensor. What is the purpose of the proximity sensor, right? So, or presence sensor. In a building, in some of smart buildings that has been deployed somewhere, I think in KL or something. So what it does is that it measures the number of people in a particular side of the building. And based on the number of people and the heat that is generated, it actually adjusts the air conditioning system. So this is just one of it. The other important aspect of using the presence sensor is basically to count the number of people in a particular meeting room. Now, similarly, there are various kinds of sensing capabilities: motion, temperature, humidity, sound, chemical sensors, flow, leaks, electric, magnetic, and so on. Now, if you look at the recent incidents in Selangor, what was the reason? Major issues that we had that you can remember? Yes, water, water issue, right? So the issue is that water is polluted. You see, our water system is a bit unique because we have such a long stretch of river, and each river, they have a sub-rivers. What I mean by sub-rivers is that there's a channels that goes to a main river, and there's an upstream and downstream. Okay. Now, what happened is that when somebody throws something on the upstream, it goes down all the way, and that's where the entire river gets polluted. And because there are various kinds of pollutants that is being thrown, it is a bit difficult to measure and to analyze. In fact, this is what we have discussed with Selangor government also, because apparently this water, this is odorless chemical also being thrown into the river, and it cannot smell. So what they will usually do is, instead of constantly monitoring the water quality, there is a department which actually sample out the water, and they will manually sniff it, they will manually smell it based on the dilution level. So that is where, when you see there is a term being used, I can't remember exactly. So once it reaches to that particular level, then you can use that particular water. Okay. Now, similarly, there are various kinds of projects that you can do. There are so many out there. Arduino kits, a Raspberry Pi, and then the components for it, and so on. Okay. Now, so here in this diagram, it shows that the technology and markets that uses a particular sensor. It's a bit small. So if you look here, the blue color here is all the sensors and where it is being used. For example, for building automation. So you need a light sensor, a contact sensor, temperature sensor, chemical sensor, and a accelerometer sensor. If you look, for example, healthcare and life sciences, what are the sensors that are required? Pressure sensor, temperature, chemical, and so on. Now, if you look for environment, there are chemical sensors, humidity sensors, light sensors, pressure sensors, and so on. So like that, for each industries, there are specific needs that you need to understand before you identify the type of sensors that is required. And bear in mind that not all sensors can be applied the same way as it is for these different types of solutions. Meaning to say, for example, temperature. That's the simplest one, right? So temperature for building automation and temperature for agriculture may be different. Okay, the value may be different. The way you read the data will be different, and so on. Okay, for example, in agriculture, you want to measure the temperature of the soil, whereas in building, you want to measure the temperature of the environment. The reading or the value will also differ. Now let's look at the IoT communication, which is the second part of IoT. Now, this actually shows a different scale or range of the IoT connectivity. The shortest one, which of course is Bluetooth or short-range communication, and then we have a personal area network like a Wi-Fi, and then we have an outdoor, a wide area network, a long range. And if you look at here, the solutions, right? These are proprietary solution. These are also proprietary solution. These are also proprietary solution. Now, in the next slide, I will show you. See, why is it important for you to know this? Is that when you want to build an IoT solution, first thing that you need to know is that what is the problem that you're going to solve? Based on the problem that you're going to solve, then you identify the type of sensors that is required. The next thing that you need to know is that how are you going to connect the sensors to the platform? Is it for agriculture purpose, where the sensors could be deployed in a very large scale? So in that case, you need to have a long range connectivity. Or you're going to deploy a sensor in a building where Wi-Fi connectivity is sufficient, right? The next thing that you need to know is that the platform that you're going to use. So like that, so you need to understand each of the components that is required. So here in the long range technology is divided into two. One is the non-3GPP standard and the 3GPP standard. So what's the difference between these two? Anyone know what's the difference? Want to try? Anyone? What's the difference between this 3GPP and non-3GPP standard? One without none. Yes, true. Okay, how many students we have now? Let me see. All right. Okay, I think we. Okay. Now, if you look at the connectivity standards, right, there are free standards, okay, free standards. There are license-based standard. Your handphone that you are using, right, is a license-based. So when I say license means it's a standard that they follow, and it's a very strict guideline that need to follow. It is called 3GPP standards, right? Now, if you heard about the deployment of 5G, which will take place somewhere in October onwards, initially each telco supposed to bid for the frequency that is being offered. Okay, and it's not small amount of money; it's in millions, right? It's in millions of dollars for each license that require. But now what happened is that the government said that you don't have to deploy the infrastructure. Infrastructure will be shared. We will own the infrastructure. Okay. Now, so for 3GPP standard, it costs a lot for telcos. The non-3GPP, on the other hand, is a non-license based. LoRa, Sigfox, Weightless, even Wi-Fi as well. It's just that the frequency that they use, there's no guarantee that there's no collision. Okay, here in this case, the frequency is divided to specific telcos. Each telco will be given a range of frequency. Whereas in the 3GPP standard, for example, LoRa, Sigfox, they may use the same standard and deploy it. So what happens when they do that? There'll be high collisions, latency will increase, lots of packet drops, and so on and so forth. But touch wood, so far, there's no such issues. And these two are the most deployed IoT solution, which is LoRa, which is a long-range connectivity, and Sigfox. Both are France-based, from France. And the way they work is that in terms of technology. Okay. Next, let's look at the IoT security. See, when IoT was deployed in a large scale, back in 2016, what happened was there was this Mirai botnet attack. Okay, those who want to further their specialization or wanted to focus on security, I think they should know this a bit. So in a Mirai botnet, what happened was about 500,000 devices was compromised. And you know how they went into is practically from a botnet that has been deployed in all the devices. And then they use those devices to attack, to launch a DDoS attack. And in fact, most of the huge providers like Netflix, Reddit, CNN was down for I think for 1 or 2 days, I think. So this is one of the issue. The second one is the Jeep hack. Now this is very interesting. In fact, after the Jeep hack, there was also another model of car which was also hacked. Now in this, what happened is that there is a team of researchers who was sitting in their home and they controlled the car. It was driven. So if you look at the video, if you go and search the Jeep hack, this car was actually driven on a highway. Okay. And what happens is that the driver does not have a control at all. Even the speed, the wiper, the signal, everything is controlled remotely. How do they manage to do this? Is because these Jeep are connected to the infotainment center of their main headquarters. And the hackers actually entered into the Jeep through the infotainment system. So that's how they gain access. So be careful if you are actually buying a new autonomous car and so on. I'm not in the future, so make sure that it's secure enough, it's not being hacked and so on and so forth. In fact, I'm not mistaken, the other vehicle, don't quote me, I think if I'm not mistaken, BMW, but I'm not so sure about it. Okay, so in fact, the last 2 years, this is a hot topic in the Black Hat event. So Black Hat event is a security event which is organized, usually be held in US. All the top security experts will gather and then they will discuss, they will attack, do many things. And in fact, what happened is that this is the most talked about, which is the IoT security aspect of it. Now, why this issue, right? So you must understand that the sensors, right, they are very low processors and a very low memory. It's a very, how to say, less resource devices compared to your laptop or desktop. So because of that, you cannot have a high encryption, you cannot have a high security features in that device. And due to that, what happens? It can be easily compromised. So these are some of the secure constrained devices. These are issues. Authorized or authenticate device, manage device updates. And these sensor devices, once you deploy it, usually you don't care about it anymore because it's small, it's very far. And even if there's a patch that you want to do, they don't even bother to patch it. And these are all one of the issues that happens. Detect vulnerabilities, secure communications, and so on. So if you look at this, cartoon picture, right? So the car key will tell you, if you're all connected, so the car key will tell you, I'll start your car, but only to take you to the bank to make a transfer. Okay. And then it's, how to say, okay, this one, see the door. If you have a smart lock, okay, the next time you leave, I'll cost you $100 to get back into the house unless you give me $75. So these are some of the issues that can happen. I'm not telling that it will happen, it can happen. One of the easiest way people hack, in fact, there is a site, can't remember exactly, is that this particular site shows all the compromised CCTV cameras worldwide, worldwide. Now, why these particular CCTV cameras, right? So usually when customer buys CCTV cameras of online or off the shelf, they will just fix it. They will not change the password at all. And what's the default password? Default password is either password or 12345. This is the human error, a human factor that actually compromised all these devices. Okay, so IoT middleware. So what is IoT middleware? So I've mentioned earlier, the first one we looked into the device. The second we look into the connectivity. The third one is that where do you want to send the data, right? So the data here is aggregated at the platform or middleware. And some prefer to use their own database server, that is fine. But platform is a lot different than a normal database server. A lot of difference in sense of it has more features, more capabilities to handle this data, which I'll explain what FAVORIOT platform does. And of course, on top of that is the data analytics. You have this huge amount of data, and you can actually process the data to analyze it for some purpose. So let's look at some of the IoT applications. For example, the smart farming. Nowadays, if you look I think I've heard more and more the smart farming being applied and used. There could be hydroponic, and many things. And what they do is that they want to have better yields. If you read the news, the chili, right? So chili is 1 kg is about, well, it depends, 15, 17 ringgit or so, or depends, sometimes 10 ringgit. It's a huge revenue if you properly manage the chili. So what they do is that they have few things. One is that to measure the temperature, humidity, and soil moisture level. And then the feedback mechanism where all these bags is on a poly bag, right? This is connected to a main water and chemicals. So whenever the poly bags or the soil inside the poly bag need this type of, for example, water is not sufficient, so it will request back to the system to pump water to the particular poly bag. Okay, and this way they can actually get better yields. So this is one of the reasons why people are using this technology. Of course, in some cases it's a bit difficult to make a return of investment, and sometimes it's a very long return of investment. Okay. Right. So the other one is a smart city. Now, a smart city is a best example. There are many things that you can deploy in a smart city. It could be, for example, environmental monitoring. For example, when we had haze last time, right? So our government last time, they used to have PM10 particles 10. So particles, PM10 is a huge particles. But now we are using a PM2.5. In fact, most of our sensoring monitoring that we have deployed in Malaysia is a PM2.5, much more accurate in terms, and it can measure very fine particles. Right? So these are some of the environmental sensor. Outdoor parking management, parking sensors. There are many types. ferromagnetic sensors. If you've been to Penang, they have these ferromagnetic sensors. They can put it on the ground. Right? So when the car goes on top of that, it knows that the car has parked. Right? So and then it will send an alert. It won't send an alert. Actually, it will send an alert stating that there is a car that has been parked. And based on that, it will display the number of parking bays available and so on. Of course, it's very expensive to deploy, but I think it's a good way to measure how many cars has been parked and what's the revenue that they get for a particular place and so on. In Philippines, what happens is that what they do is that they are tier parking rate. At a special time, there's a different parking rate because of the congestion. And they use these ferromagnetic sensors to measure that number of parkings occupied and increase or change the parking rate. Traffic intensity, guided parking, free parking lot, and so on. Smart citizen. How many of you have been to IOI City Mall? Been there? No? To Putrajaya. Yeah, Putrajaya. Now, if you've been there, if you drove there, you see there's so many cameras. I don't know whether you've noticed that or not. And each floor, before you go back to your car park, there is a small a monitor that can actually, you can just need to type in your car plate number. It will show you exactly where you park with the car plate image as well, right? Now, how they do that is actually because of the number of cameras that have been installed. So every time there's a car parked, right, they will take a snap, they will picture, they analyze the car number plate, and then they recognize the car number plate. So that is how it is part of the sensor to easily monitor where your car is parked. Of course, it is expensive, but this is a convenient purpose. Okay, smart pills. Now, this is interesting. What is smart pill, right? Now, smart pill is the first FDA-approved pill that tracks drug regimen compliance from inside. Okay, so what happens is that you swallow the pill, and this pill is not absorbable. It flushes out. Okay, it flushes out after you use it, and some of it has some features, the senses, and as you swallow it, it goes through your system, digestive system. The pill disintegrates, leaving the sensor in stomach. And the purpose of this pill is to diagnose certain things, send back the data to the patch here, and then from the patch, it sends to your mobile or your system. Okay, and throughout the system, it sends a signal. It reads the data, sends a signal. Reads the data, sends a signal. So this is one of the interesting fact. The other one is that this is how it looks like, actually, a smart pill. This pill to screen for colon cancer, right? This is the high definition image of the pill itself. If you look at it, it's a camera also. See the camera? Pill cam, colon, so optical, light array, it's another camera, okay? So it's an antenna, battery. So it takes images. So instead of you do scoping, usually what they do is that they do scoping. They'll put the scope inside, and then they will check. But in this case, what happens, it will send images as it goes through your digestive system. So the pill costs about 500 compared to colonoscopy, which is about 4,000. So there is a reduction huge reduction in your medical bill. So the other important aspect is that this is I got to know about this when I had a discussion with one of the professor. This was about 7-8 years ago, if not mistaken. Yeah, it's from US. So he said that nano robotics is something very important in healthcare sector. So what is this nanorobotic? This is different than the smart pill just now. Smart pill, what happens is that it kicks out from the body because of the components that are being used. Whereas for these nanorobotics, these nanorobots are actually built based on your protein, human protein. The reason being is that once you inject into your bloodstream, it would not be rejected. So it will stay there. Okay. Now, one of the things is that, let me see. Yeah, this one. Injecting nanorobot the blood to kill cancer cells. So it has been programmed in such a way that these nanorobots will go specifically find the cancer cells and kill it. Right. The difference is that when you do, if you know, in a cancer patient, what they do is that they do a chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is basically to kill most of your cells. That's why they will have, no hair, burned and so on. So whereas here, the nanorobotic, what happens is that it will go and find the cancer cells and kill that particular cancer cell. Critically, so it will be tested. I think it will soon be tested. That time he said it's going to soon be tested. Now, if this is successful, it will actually change the way medicine it is for cancer patients. It's a huge, huge benefits. Now, let me just talk about the future jobs. Why is it important? You will know shortly. Now, this is taken by the World Economic Forum. Now, what World Economic Forum back in 2018 stated that by 2022, right, technology proportion by companies, right, this likely to adopt them by 2022, by next year. Now, of course, there are many things, these are technology related. Look at the percentage wise, right? On the top, of course, big data. Big data is always the high. In fact, we are actually not enough big data experts in various sectors because big data is a domain specific. For example, healthcare is analytics is different than agriculture for a smart factory and so on. Web enabled market. Okay, next, the third one is the IoT. Third one is IoT. And of course, all the other things, right? Virtual, reality, encryption. In fact, AI, I think now has improved and is being overlapped into maybe third to fourth position and so on. So, the importance of knowing this big data and AI, right, is quite critical. In fact, we are seeing the trend that's moving right now. Okay, now let me go quickly into favorite IoT solutions. So what I've shown you is just a glimpse of what IoT is, focusing on the components of IoT, which is the 4 components. Now let me go straight into IoT solution. Sorry. Right. Now we have 4 main solutions. The first one, in fact, our core is the middleware, which I will explain in detail what is IoT middleware. This is to create a any vertical IoT solutions in a fast way. Second is a Rakib peace of mind. This is actually a kind of a monitoring, something to do with knowing where you are, your health, and so on. So this is a smart wearable device like this. If you look here, okay, this. So what it does is that this device measures your heart rate, your steps, your ECG, your blood pressure, and sent to your cloud using a normal GSM network. And then we analyze the data and actually show that in the mobile app as well as in the web base. And you can also set a geofence. This is especially important for those who has this Alzheimer, right? So where they go missing. So when you set a geofence and when they go out of the range, you will immediately get alerted that the person goes out of those places. The third one is a favor sense. Favor sense is more towards how to make a better, smarter engagement service for the authorities. The reason into our family of solution is Discover, which we just recently, about 3 days ago, we launched it. It is an app for your family and friends to stay connected. It's a very interesting app. You should try it. You can find it in Play Store and App Store, but I think you need to type D'(S) cover, right? If you type S like this, you may not find it, right? You must type D'(S) discover. Where I will explain in the last 2 slides, I think. Let me just go straight to the IoT middleware. Now, why is IoT middleware is such an important component? So you must understand, all the data from various devices has to be aggregated, has to be improvised, has to be grouped together, to be analyzed, and then to provide a solution for it. Now, that is one of the reasons why IoT platform is quite important, because of the features that it has. Some people say that it's just another type of a database server. It has more than that. Like what we have within our favorite platform, I'm not so sure if you have learned this, but there are different types of communication protocols beside the TCP, UDP, right? This is an application level. So we have REST, CoAP, MQTT, WebSocket. So all this, you see, some platforms are very specific to one communication protocol and one verticals, but favorite platform cut across various verticals for various communication protocols. And we are hierarchical based, where we have a project on top, application groups, devices, and so on. Real-time data display, so you can always see the data in real time as it is being sent via the sensors. And how do we manage that? We have a very long, secure 128 bits API keys to manage all the data. And you can create rules to send an alert if it's required through various channels, SMS, Telegram, email, and so on. Display device on a map with a device. Graphboard, this is something like a dashboard, but it's not a full-fledged dashboard. It's a real-time historical data with various types of graphs that's available. You can actually send control from the platform. For example, you want to send a control to turn on the light. So you can do that. Customized logo and graph, referral, and share user portfolio. These are some of the unique selling proposition. Rapid development. So what we build is that it's easy to use. Why I say easy to use is because there are so many tutorials has been created. Full documentation is available on how to use it. The user-friendly APIs. And this is based on cloud. So there's a zero cost for your infrastructure. Now, there are also free versions as well, which we can use. And mostly they use a cloud-based platform, right? So as I mentioned earlier, REST, MQTT, flexible deployment, there's a various way of you can deploy the platform and various resources that we have. Now, before I move on, right? So I have this short, how many we have? We have Mark Mark also here. Zuck Zuckerberg. Okay, now I have a short a reward. Now, what I want you all to do is that a very simple thing, which I will share in the next slide. Now, for those who got the first to do it, we will give a 1-year subscription free for developer account for IoT platform. And then for the 10th and then the 20th, it depends on the number of students who are here, we will give a discounted coupon for you all to claim. Okay, let me move. So this is what you need to do. You can go to platform, you register using a valid email address, register as a free user, that's it. Okay, so I'll give you about a few minutes.
Yeah, so probably you guys can actually scan the QR code and try it out.
Yeah.
I'll leave to them. Yeah, I will just
You can also try.
I'll leave it to them. Never mind. Yeah. Yeah, sure. So at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Had you end like your presentation thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I have a
No,
few
no, not yet.
questions.
I still have few.
Oh, still have a
I'll
few.
continue. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You have a question? It's okay. I can take a question. Don't worry.
So right.
Mm.
From a student perspective, because the
Mm-hmm.
IoT seems like it's a very professional field or something like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
at least from us to see, like, is a student who are like not major in, if we say we major in computer science, is software engineering. We
Mm-hmm.
didn't actually touch a lot of IoT things. How can we actually self-learn, or what resources and what should we learn to? You want to be a IoT engineer or something?
You see, if you have computer and IT background, is an added advantage. If you have an engineering, it's an added advantage. The reason why I'm saying that is that, you see, it all depends on which area, which aspect of the IoT that you're going to work on, right? As I mentioned, there are four main components, right? The first one is the sensor devices. If you have an engineering background, then you can build a sensor, right? Now, and also the communication modules as well. Now, if you have a computer science and IT background, you can build a firmware, a solution for it, or even play around with the platform as well. If you are good at the data analytics, then you can actually create an algorithm to analyze the data at the application level. So it's a cut across. So in fact, I've known a lot of people who doesn't have any background in IT and engineering, and they are doing extremely well in the IoT field.
Interesting.
Yeah, but as I say, if you have an IT and computer science background, it's an added advantage because of the programming background you're exposed to and so on. So everything is a firmware, everything is a programming.
Yeah.
Let me see if anyone registered. Just
you guys can register.
Okay, so far only 3.
Why is this something like this? Okay, at the same time, right? Would you like recommend students who want to start with an IoT career or something? Could they like because like a lot of things such as like Raspberry Pi, Arduino, like is it better to start with like those like Raspberry Pi kit or Arduino kit?
Yes.
Or any such suggestion?
Yes, definitely. I will always recommend that. As a startup into the IoT world, there are so many such development kits. In fact, if you look, there are also local-based development kit as well. Hibiscus is the latest in the market. It's not that expensive also. It's not mistaken about 80 ringgit or something. The module itself, it has everything that is required. It has a Bluetooth. It has a Wi-Fi. It has a sensor module in it, and so on. If you look at the Arduino, right? It also has Citron Arduino, right? They have a mini Arduino. It has all the sensors that is required. So always start with that first, because all the projects, but if you have, fun to really build a new, solution, then go ahead and build the solution. Okay, but start with the simple platform-based thing. Okay, should I wait? How many we have here?
We have like 21 here.
21, yeah. Okay. I don't see many of you all registering.
Yeah.
It's okay. So if you're still doing it, I'll wait for another 1 minute and then I'll continue. Just another short one.
Yeah. So next question, right? Right. It's like since you say that we can like start with like all this counting, like you did a lot of like IoT things, and probably you can share like one experience that you feel like, oh, this IoT, we built this IoT solution that really, like, I feel like it's really inspiring, really changing the world. Like you want to share the experience with student or something, like one instance or one event or something.
Okay, let me think. See, there are a few things. Let me share a few experiences. Usually when in the early days, when a customer come and approach to us, what they will tell is that, because they don't know about IoT, so they will say that I want an IoT solution. So, but then when we ask, so what are you going to improve, or what are you going to solve? Then they will go blank. So they don't know what they want. So that is one of the biggest challenge. So in fact, in any IoT solution, right? So it is important to know what is the problem that you're going to solve. Now, take for example the racket that I've mentioned earlier. So this device, right? So this is, of course, the device is not us, not from us. This is a OEM device. But what is important here is that how do you measure, and for what purpose do you measure these parameters? The goal, that the reason why we build this solution is that to monitor the people, the family members, right? So that is the aim. And how do you monitor them is using this, measure all the required parameters, the health, and you can further analyze it, okay, doing many things. So most people, right, in IoT solution, they are trying to propose many very dramatic, very complex solutions. We always prefer to have a simple solution. We have actually proposed, for example, to Smart Selangor also. This is for the, I mentioned earlier, the water pollution thing. Of course, that stopped at that level. I don't want to explain in detail. And one of the interesting things that the recent project that we have done is also a POC, a pilot project, is to measure the water consumption. So basically, it's a smart meter, right? So like a smart meter for the electricity, this is a smart meter for the water. So what it does is that it measures the water and it sends the data every few minutes. In our case, the pilot project, we send it every hour. So how do we, the challenge here is that in some cases, there's no network, there's no connectivity at all. So that's a big challenge, because we were asked to use new technology actually last year. It's called NB-IoT, Narrowband IoT, which is part of the 4G. In some areas, they don't have the kind of coverage, and you have a big challenge. But it's a very interesting project where you can analyze the data based on the need. For example, what is the consumption per day basis, per week, per month basis? Is there any leakages? Is there any tampering of the water? You know, all those things you can analyze it and then provide a summary to those management that's required. Okay, so let me move on with this. I will share with you who actually won the first later.
Sure.
Okay, so this is the platform. If you go into the platform, I'm sure most of you have seen just now when you register. So this is how it looks like. This is what I mentioned by hierarchical. Our way of doing this project, the platform is unique. It's due to this hierarchical thing. Of course, we have various types of graphs. You can actually try it out. In fact, the free version that we have just registered, in fact, that is good enough for your project as well if you want to do it. So you don't have to worry anything about your database, building a database, installing it, or nothing. What you need to know is that get your development kit, configure, for example, the light temperature, whatnot, read the data, configure the device to send the data to the platform. And you're good enough to display all the data in real time and view it in the different graphs that's already available. And you can share the graph publicly as well if you want to. Okay, so we always encourage students to use the platform for that purpose. It's just that many doesn't know the features, the so many features out there in the platform itself. It's just that we need to explore more, and we will be coming up more resources soon in terms of the short videos on how to use this platform. Okay, let me just Yeah, so the other one is this Discover, which I mentioned earlier. We just recently launched it. And this is available in the Play Store and iOS. So here you can see the number of features here, a list, post-it, planner, location. And here, if for example, you want to keep track, if you want to only, it's not compulsive, right? So some people, they don't want to share their live location. So here what happens is that in the location, when you click the location, you can know where your friends, your family members are in a particular. And you can send a geofence. For example, you plan to meet somewhere in a mall, right? So you send a geofence, and when your friend or family members arrives, you'll automatically get an alert, right? And of course, there are SOS also. SOS is being sent to your members, as well as make a call as well, if it's need to. So like that, is quite a number of features here in the Discover. So you can, this is how, if you want to, install it, you can scan this QR code that's available, and make use of. In fact, okay, this is again, it's also free for certain limit. Is good enough to be used by family members. Or by, in fact, your friends for individual purposes and so on. But if you want a higher version, then you need to subscribe.
Yeah. So a question here, right, from a student say, any technical knowledge we need to learn before using FAVORIOT, like probably what programming languages or any like things to know.
Okay. Yeah, sure. We have a few scripting languages. Let me just quickly show the platform itself. Just give me a minute.
Sure. At the same time, I actually just downloaded the app. There's one review is quite interesting, which is very suit for Malaysian. When your friend says he's on the way, you can check whether he's saying the truth or not.
True.
Oh, that's funny.
I mean, it's quite nice to see this being used. Did you download it?
Yeah, I just downloaded it.
One thing that must understand is that sometimes this is a feature within Apple and Android. It doesn't allow you to use your app constantly just for location purposes. So if you want to constantly or to send your live location, you need to click on the app and then go to the setting and allow it to constantly, don't restrict the battery. But don't worry, battery would not, it's not as resource hungry like a Waze or not. It's much lesser. Now, if you look here, so we have, this is a platform.
Sorry, I think you didn't share your
screen. Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right. This is just the last one. Okay. Can you see now?
Sure, we can see it now.
Can, right? Okay. Now, if you look at the documentation, you can see here, right? The documentation?
Yeah.
Okay. So here there's 4 different scripting languages. And not necessarily you need to know all. You can, for example, let's say you want to use, you want to create a Raspberry Pi. Okay. So this is a Raspberry Pi. And this is the sample code. If you use Python, if you're good in JavaScript, there's a JavaScript code. If you're good in Java, there is some part of it, we do provide the Java code as well. So it all depends, but it could be, you can use any languages to use the platform. The details of it are all given in the API on how to connect, how to send data. Is all HTTP post, GET, and so on. Okay, it's a HTTP JSON format. It's a very straightforward. Okay, yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, any other question, guys? You guys can actually put in the comment section there. And also, right, one thing, right, because you mentioned that you actually tried in different industry, like you say IP, network industry, IPv6. But what actually triggers you to actually starting to get into IoT and even eventually co-founded this IoT?
See, when I started IPv6 back in 2000 and I can't remember. So when I was in MIMOS, right, there's a small group that we have created. It's called Low Power Personal Area Network. And that time, there's something called 6LoWPAN. 6LoWPAN is actually a subset of IPv6. It stands for IPv6 Low Power Wireless Area Network. Now, this is actually part of a communication stack which is being used in a wireless personal area network. Now, when you talk about wireless personal area network, it's a small range and it's actually an IoT part. Now, that is how I evolve and get involved in IoT. And that time when we proposed back in 2010, that not many people aware or know what is IoT and how it can be used. In fact, that time the sensors are very limited as well. So along the way, just get used to it. And then, you know, we saw the opportunity are there. In fact, the opportunities, in fact, now itself, there are huge number of opportunities. It's just that you need to know what solution that you can provide in the IoT industry. As I mentioned, it can be agriculture, it could be industrial IoT, you know, it could be healthcare sector. Even within the healthcare sector, you can also have, you know, tracking system, or you can have in the logistic area. It's in many areas that you can work on. Yeah.
Yeah, and also like there are a lot of IoT hackathons in like Malaysia also.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like usually a lot of them like include like I heard a lot of drone IoT application. Like recently, it's really like a hype thing from last year to this year. The drone.
Yeah, true. Drone is the next thing as well. In fact, there are a few companies. One of the biggest company in the world, it's actually from Malaysia. This is based in cyber. What's the name of it? Aerodyne. But they are, even though this is a drone, but they're doing more than that. It's more towards analytics, data analytics. Like what you correctly pointed out. So these drones are actually fitted with cameras, sensors, and so on to measure the parameters. For example, if they fly above a farm, right? So they take the images of the vegetables, for example, the crops, and send back the data to be analyzed, right? So these are some of the things that, you know, the new things, new trend.
Yeah. So also you mentioned that you want to announce the winner or something, right?
Yeah. Is there any other questions?
I think currently there are no from now, and so like the time are actually running out probably.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Right. So the first winner, let me just give it.
Sure.
Is okay. The one who will get the free is that Nadira. Nadira here?
Yeah, I think she's here.
She's here?
She's here. Yeah, there's a one called Nadira. Probably can comment there. Yes, she's here.
Congratulations, Nadira.
Yeah, congratulations.
Okay, what happens is that because I have all your email address, we will send the coupon for you to redeem by tomorrow. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, the other two, that is a 30% off. Because not many actually registered, I can only give one. Let me just see. 1, 2. Okay. Is Wenji?
Yeah, Wenji. I think he's here too. Yeah.
Okay, so congratulations, Wenji. But this is actually a 30% off. But there's a validity for the coupon that we're going to use it. So please make good use of it. So the difference is that the full version, right? The developer version has a better features, more APIs for you to use. That means you can send more data to the platform compared to the free one. Free one is a very limited number of API keys. Yeah.
But I feel like if you really want just to explore IoT first, then I feel like free is sufficient enough if you want to like really like get hands-on.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so probably you guys can also register it. The platform is there, like favoriot.iot.com, and you can sign up an account just like what Mr. Gopinath says. And also really thank you guys for actually joining here, and especially thanks to Mr. Gopinath for accepting our invitation to share about IoT stuff here. And let's give him a really big round of applause. Yay.
Thank you so much.
Yes, yeah. And so really thanks a lot. Yeah, because like we just started this club like last year, end of last year, and we don't have a lot of events. Yeah. So that's really a starting point. We really wish to build a strong tech community in Xiamen University, Malaysia. People who are enthusiastic with tech, no matter you are like web development, IoT, apps, or AI, we do wish to like build up the environment here. So like students can actually gather together. If you have a bunch of people who are enthusiasts can do things together, surely we can improve together and do more interesting things.
Yeah, definitely. Good to see that you all have started this tech talk on this. I assume more will gain, you'll gain much more from this. Just to understand, see, what is important is that to gain knowledge as much as possible, to understand the current trend, so that you will be following the trend and pick a particular path that you want to focus on. It's a good effort. Keep it up.
Yeah, sure.
And good luck to all of you. We may see, maybe I'll come to your campus and so on.
Yeah, sure. If next time if once a coffee on, we really wish to invite you to campus once.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Gopinath. And also, Mike, can you share the slides? I'll ask my host,
Sure.
Yeah, you want to share the slides? Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Yeah, so you can follow us in LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, XMUM Tech Club, or going to X Tech as well. And also next, let's go with the next one. You can follow us on our YouTube channel, X Tech XMUM, and we'll upload this video there in a while. Yeah, so that if you want to rewatch, you can watch through YouTube, and also you can watch through Facebook as well.
Great.
Yeah, so that's really that's everything for today. Really thanks you guys for joining for today. And also don't forget, next week at the same time as 8 p.m. we have invited speakers to introduce you guys to about AWS, Amazon Web Services. And also so thank you everyone. Thanks for joining, especially thank you Mr. Gopinath. Thank you.
Okay, see you all. Bye.
See you all. Bye guys.